If you're watching this video, you're probably thinking, how the heck do I make money in real estate investing? And I know how you feel. I had the same thought. But if you're waiting around looking for some sort of your big break to come through, I got some bad news for you. Not happening. Especially in the early stages of investing, nobody's going to come hand you anything, but there is a ton of opportunity out there. Now, like I said, 6 months ago, I had never made a dime. I didn't know what the heck I was doing, and I didn't really know which direction to go. But at this point, I'm now running multiple income producing businesses in real estate investing, and I want to share a little bit about what I did to get started that literally anybody can do. But before I even get into that, I want to dispel one of the biggest myths that I have seen in real estate investing, which is that you need money to get into investing. You know who you are. There's plenty of people that have come to me and said, yeah, one day I would really love to get into investing. I'm really trying to save up money for investing, something like that. And I get it. That's a normal way of thinking. Everybody tells you that you need money to invest because people associate investing with using their own money. But those two things do not have to go hand in hand. And investing can really be whatever you want it to be. For example, when it comes to investing, everybody again thinks that money is the most important thing, when in reality, knowledge trumps money every day of the week. If you have the knowledge, the expertise, the resources to be a successful real estate investor, money will come, because there are so many people that don't have those things. There's people that don't have time. They don't have the knowledge. They don't know anybody else that's doing it, and they just have money. I don't want to say money's easy to come by. That's not necessarily true, but there's a lot more people that have money than people that have true knowledge and expertise when it comes to real estate. And if you're feeling like you don't have either of those two things, I'll tell you what you probably do have, which is time. That's where I was. And if you don't have knowledge, you don't have money, but you do have time, you can take that time to utilize the unlimited free resources that we have access to now. The education is out there for free for you to become a top level investor in any field that you choose, just by applying yourself, being consistent, and taking that action. And that's exactly what I did. So let's talk about it. As a lot of you probably know, my primary method of investing is in creative real estate. So deals that don't necessarily look like the typical go to a bank, wait forever to get approved, and get a super high interest rate loan. And that's going to be the foundation of what I'm talking about today, because obviously that's what I know. So before I get into the specifics of what exactly you can do to go make money, to go find a deal, I want to break down three things. The first one being, what is a sub-2 deal? I've talked about this before, but I want to review what is a sub-2 deal, what makes a good sub-2 deal, and then where can I find one? So first is more of just a recap. What is a sub-2 deal? Subject to is the process of taking over an existing mortgage. Plain and simple. You're taking over a mortgage that already exists, and oftentimes, especially now, that means you're taking over a mortgage with an interest rate that's probably 2, 3, maybe 4% instead of 7, 8% like what's happening right now at the end of 2023. And yes, obviously there's a lot more to the process of actually taking something over subject to, but just for the baseline of today, sub-2, taking over someone else's mortgage. Now, what makes a good sub-2 deal is a very loaded question. There is so many different types of subject to transactions, so many different scenarios that you can come up with, but let's just talk about the perfect deal so that we have a baseline to work off of. So your best chance at a subject to deal that's clean and straight to the point is a deal where somebody's house is worth the same or less than when they bought it. Now again, there's a lot that goes into that, but just for super basic numbers, let's say that you bought your house for $250,000 and now it's only worth $230,000. Or it's still only worth $250,000, which is what you bought it for. The fun part about selling a house with realtors is that there's a whole bunch of fees that you have to pay when you sell your house. And what a lot of people don't realize is if they bought a house and try and sell it at the same price they bought it for, they're going to end up losing money. Very common. And that is, by my definition, the perfect subject to deal. This is somebody that's not going to make money with a traditional sale and may not even be able to sell their house at all because they can't afford to come out of pocket to pay for it. So in the simplest terms possible, when you are looking to find a subject to deal, you want to look for somebody that has bought their house likely recently, that's house is worth less or the same as when they bought it, and they aren't going to make money in a traditional sale. And the third point is, where can I find these deals and do they actually exist? I had a realtor send me an email the other day saying, this sounds great in principle, but this isn't a real thing. This never actually exists anywhere. And sadly, they are naive to the fact that it's happening every day. We ourselves, with my team, have done almost 20 transactions in the last 3 months, specifically using the strategy that I'm going to talk about. And there are, to be fair, a whole bunch of different ways to find subject to deals. Sometimes the better deals can be found off market by going directly to people that are selling their house or thinking about selling their house or whatever. But for this video, people that are just getting started, by far the simplest way to do it, the cheapest way to do it, literally free way to do it, is to just look at houses that are already on the market on Zillow, listed with an agent. I know, typically people think, oh, I thought you have to find off-market properties for investment and, get pocket listings or whatever. All great stuff, but you can find so many deals on market, and especially if you're just getting started, you shouldn't be paying for special software. You shouldn't be paying for anything. You can literally just use your phone and Google Sheets and keep track of everything that way and not spend a dime until you learn what the heck you're trying to do and how to do it and start making money, so that you don't look back 6 months from now saying, I spent all my money and I didn't get any results. So let's go ahead and just look on the free websites, right? Let's go to Zillow.com. We're on here looking at just any and all properties, and I'll show you what I used to look for subject to and creative properties and what you can do as well. Again, totally for free. If we're on Zillow, we can just look at, Jacksonville, where I live. Super good typing there. And it'll come up with a whole bunch of properties, right? Everything that's listed. You can pick your specific areas, whatever you want to do, but no matter what the property is. So here's a property that was listed an hour ago. And let's click on this property and show you a couple things that you can find on here. So again, free public information. You go on this listing, looks like a great house. Another thing about subject to that people don't realize is that most of all the houses we buy are close to brand new, and they're always turnkey for what we're doing. So you're getting nice houses out of this. You're not buying the junker houses that people think of when they say like, oh, you're real estate investing or whatever. So we go in here, you can see blah, 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 information about the house, information about the agent. And then if you go down a little bit further, you're going to see history for the house. So right here, price history is what it's called. And so you go on price history and it's going to show you what it's listed at, if they've done any price changes, which take note of that. That's another thing that you can use to figure out, how desperate somebody is to sell. But the other thing you can look for is when the last time it was sold, right? So on this property right here, you can see last time it was sold, 1998, not recently, and it was sold for $90,000. So it's worth $200,000 more now than it was back then. So although you can absolutely still buy this as an investment, this is not going to be a subject to deal per se, because they probably don't have any mortgage on the house. And again, sub 2 is taking over a mortgage, right? So let's go back and look at another one, see what else we can find. All right, so as I keep scrolling through Zillow here, again, you can click on any house and just look at that history. Look at the price history, figure out if it was sold recently, because if it is, they may not have any money. Let's look at this one here. And go down to the same thing. And let's see here, price history. Did I pass it? There it is. Price history. Cool. So check out this one. This one was sold in 2021, end of the year 2021, so 2 years ago right now. We're in November 2023 right now, as you can see, when it was listed. So it was sold for $285,000. They're listing it for $330,000. So in theory, you're like, well, they do have a little bit of equity, right? But if you know how the process of selling houses work, again, there's a lot of fees that are involved with that. And so really rough estimates would be that if they sell for $330,000, they'll probably only end up walking away with $300,000. And then, of course, they have to pay off the mortgage that they have on the house, which is probably around $280,000, right? So they might make $20,000 in this scenario on the house. And what we can do is a couple things. First of all, we can come in and offer them on this exact house. We could say, hey, instead of them making $20,000, what if we paid them $25,000, but then just took over their mortgage? And if we scroll up here, I saw when I was scrolling, it even tells you, again, for free. People are like, how do you find this information? Look at this, right on the listing. 2.875% mortgage. The last mortgage quotes that I saw were at 8% for a new loan. So for equivalence sake, 2.875% on this house is probably going to save you $1,500 a month in payments, maybe more, but some crazy number like that. And that's why we do it, because you can save so much money. You can turn it into a rental, and you can offer to pay them full price. Like, The crazy other thing about this is they just listed this at 330, right? And so people say, oh, well, they could make $20,000, like I said, after all of their fees. But what you're not factoring in is they listed it at 330. We're in a down market. There's going to be a lot of price cuts, most likely. Can't predict the future, but I look at a lot of houses on a day-to-day basis, and there's a lot of price cuts, all right? The market has cooled off significantly in places like Jacksonville where I live. And so when I come to them, I can even say, hey, look, you're trying to sell this at 330, you might make $20,000 at most, and that's if you sell it at full price. Do you really think you're going to sell it at full price? Probably not. So again, scenario here, but let's say that they lower this down to $300,000 as a price. Well, now if they sell the house, they're not going to make any money. In fact, they might have to pay money to sell. And what you'll find a lot of times is realtors will say, we can't lower our price anymore, because if we did lower our price, then we're not going to be able to make any money. They're not going to be able to sell it, right? That's oftentimes what I hear on the phone. So let's just call this realtor and see what they say. Again, information super available right here.
Good morning, this is Brian.
Hey Brian, this is Ryan. How's it going, man?
Good, how are you?
Not bad. I'm looking at your listing on Carter Landing Boulevard. Had a couple questions if you had a minute.
Yeah, sure. How can I help you?
Cool. Yeah, saw it was just listed. Looks really nice inside. I'm looking at some more rental properties. I live over in San Marco in Jacksonville, so looking for some more in the area and wanted to get your feedback on it, on how you think it would do like that, and maybe if you have any others in the area.
I think it'd be a good rental?
Yeah. Is there any?
Yeah, I think it'd be a fine rental. Yeah, for sure.
There's no restrictions or anything like that in the neighborhood?
No, there's not. And HOA on it's like $93 a quarter, so it's pretty cheap on that side.
Okay. Cool. Well, that's good to know. Do you have any idea what you think it might rent for?
I've not looked into that actually yet. I haven't done any comps on that. To be honest with you, no.
Okay, totally fine. Always curious for other people's input and expertise on that. As far as the house itself goes, I mean, I looked at the pictures. Everything looks nice. Is there anything, to be known with any issues or any reason why they're selling it?
And it's a younger kid getting out of the service. He's in the Navy and has relocated to Tampa, his hometown. But it's barely 2 years old. It's not even 2 years old, actually, until the 17th. But no, it's like new. It's a nice little house.
Cool. And he's already out of there?
Yep, it's vacant.
Gotcha. Okay, so timeline for selling it is just, whenever something comes through, I guess.
Yep, anytime after the 17th, because he wants to avoid some capital gains taxes. So.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, he'll be. He's good to close anytime after the 17th.
Gotcha. Okay, is he? How flexible is he on price?
There's probably a little wiggle room in there. Kind of wanted to go just a little bit higher because it's got that VA transferable mortgage at 2.875. But I've had a lot of investor trying to do a subject to on that loan, but he's not wanting to do that. He's just trying to find another probably active duty veteran wanting to live there as their primary residence.
Copy that. Yeah, that does sound ideal, I would say, for that. I looked at it before I called you, and it was looking like I might be able to do like 290 on it, and I didn't know what he would think about that, or if that's flexibility or too far.
That would cover his original expenses on it.
Oh, like the original loan?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. And with the with getting the mortgage taken over, what was his, so I can try and get a better offer in there on probably, I don't know, I could try and look at the conventional, but on the on taking it over sub 2, what was his complaint there?
Well, it just opens him up to a lot of liability and then removes his entitlement for buying a new place.
Okay. If so that like I said, we buy in a couple different ways. We do buy that way. I prefer not to unless there's not another option. But like I said, at least for me, conventional wouldn't make sense. So, I mean, as far as the liability goes, if there was no liability involved, then the only other issue would be the entitlement, right?
Yeah.
So with the entitlement, I mean, he only has, it's less than $300,000, right? So he has another 400 and something thousand dollars of entitlement he could use.
I'm not sure of his exact entitlement, what he's got going on.
Gotcha. Yeah. So in Florida, it would be 726,000 approximately. So if he bought this for around 300, then he would have over 400,000 left. So something to consider. Just putting it out there again, just because we do.
Yeah, and what about the liability side? Like if someone buys it subject to and defaults on the loan?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different things that we could do on that. When it comes to anything liability-wise with a sub 2, it really is just all about the seller and their situation. For something like that in Florida, we would have some sort of a performance deed put in place, and we would structure that around what he wanted. So sometimes we do performance deeds where literally if a payment ever gets missed, then they just get the house back. Some people are cool with that because, for example, coming in on a house like this, let's say we put in, $30,000 down and then furnish the house and, do all that stuff and turn it into a rental. Well, if we miss a payment at that point, it's going to be, in a sense, almost a benefit to him, right? I mean, he'll get maybe $50,000 worth of stuff and then he can resell the house. And even if he sold it for $50,000 less, he would still be able to, to net money off of it. So is that a perfect scenario? No, but that's one of the ways that we go around that. Now, some people may not want the house back that quickly. And so we can structure the deed based off of other things. We can put money in escrow to handle those payments if there ever was an issue. It really just depends on the person.
Yeah, he just doesn't want to get into any of that right now.
No, I wouldn't if I was him at this point. It's more of a plan B. I mean,
for sure.
Yeah, I see plan A as exactly what you said. I will say we've been through some VA loan assumption processes, and it is not quick in our experience with people. So in theory, it sounds better than sometimes it is. And hopefully that's not the case, but that's just been our experience with it. But yeah, that's plan A, I think, for sure. And obviously if he can sell it conventionally too, it's just, of course, as an investor, I just have to make money, and
of course, no,
that's how it works.
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, but cool, man. Like I said, it was a good looking house, so I just wanted to check in and see what the situation was. I'm happy to follow up, but I know he just listed it, so he's got some time. Yeah. I'm sure the holidays are gonna roll through, and then we'll see what happens from there.
Yep, and for that, man. Well, I appreciate you looking out. If you have any more questions, feel free to give me a buzz back.
Sounds good. I appreciate your time, man. Have a good day.
Yep, you too. Bye.
All right, bye-bye. Cool. So, live call there. Literally just pulled that right off of Zillow. Spent $0 to get that lead. What did we find out in the call? We found out what his motivations were. He literally, as you heard, and as you will commonly hear if you make these calls, people will bring up subject to before you do. So a bunch of people are scared, like, oh, I don't know how to bring it up. They'll bring it up for you. Like, he already brought it up for me, and I didn't even have to ask. I just rolled with the punches with what he was already saying. So he brings up sub 2. He brings up some of the issues with it. He brings up what the guy needs, what he doesn't need. And I just play off that, and ask those questions. And a lot of that is going to come with experience, right? I've made a lot of phone calls. I know what questions to ask. And although this guy didn't say, yeah, I'm going to sell you this house right now, nobody ever will. Like, the houses that we find literally start with conversations just like that. It's a good conversation. The guy likes me. We have a good talk about what's going on, what's needed, and what isn't. And next month, I'm going to call him back and ask him the same thing. And the month after that, I'm going to do the same thing. And after 2 to 3 months of doing that, if they haven't been able to sell the house, guess who they're going to talk to about considering this potential option? So you can see it's that simple. People are so freaked out about, like, I don't have the money to spend on this special software. I don't know where to find leads. Like, the leads are literally right there. They're literally on Zillow. It's not hard to get started. Yes, there are things that you can spend money on, things that you can pay for to get better leads and more leads, quality leads, whatever. But you can go on Zillow and do exactly what I did. Look at the price history and just find houses that were purchased recently and have a conversation just like that. And the cool thing is, if you ever find somebody that you think it may work as a possibility, I can help you with those leads. Other people can help you with those leads that are actively doing creative deals. And you don't have to do all the work. Literally, one of the steps is just finding potential, right? And we already found potential. Like, I just found potential on that lead live on this call. I've never spoken to that dude before. Found it on Zillow. It's been listed for 6 days. So Myths. It has to be listed for a long time to be a good sub 2. Not true. If they're not going to make money, then it doesn't matter how long it's listed. They're still screwed. So you might as well call them. The other myth is that you have to spend all that money. You saw it was free. And the other one is just not getting started. I don't know if that's a myth or whatever you want to call it, but people don't make the phone calls. Like that one phone call that I just made that you watched is going to be more than most everybody that says they want to get into real estate investing ever does. So just taking that step, imagine if I did 10 more of those calls today and then did that same thing for a month straight. The odds of me getting a deal, astronomically higher. And it's really not that hard. So if you're looking to get a real estate investment deal, I just showed you the exact blueprint on how I did it. I'm not making this stuff up. I've done it. I continue to do the same thing. Don't listen to people that tell you you need money to get into real estate investing. Not true. You can find this house and sell it to another investor and make $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. I know it sounds crazy, but we do it all the time. So it's definitely possible. All you need is consistency and the action taking to do those things. If you want to check out other videos of me doing live calls like that, talking to sellers, overcoming objections, and learning a lot along the way, check out this video right here. I'm going to be doing a lot more of them as I continue to talk to these people, close deals, and hopefully share that process with everybody. Appreciate it.